Welcome to the 2024 Real Talk Fantasy Baseball Awards. All right, John, you ready for this, man? This is like culminating like the whole season.
I've been ready for this since my season was over in the All-Star break.
I mean,
I've been waiting.
To be fair, you kind of like forced yourself into the end of the season about halfway through. But
I mean, that's what
in
the
a keeper league you can do
that.
You can do that because you can chalk it up to rebuilding, right? If you know that you're probably going to have a shot, might as well start the rebuild now. You know, you get to keep these guys forever. So
this is true. And we got a lot to talk about on the 2024 episode and help you prepare for 2025. So let's do this thing, Will.
That's right. So there are 5 awards that we're handing out today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, and thank you for joining us on Instagram and YouTube. Sorry, need to learn how to talk. YouTube and Spotify and wherever else you're listening or watching us. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button and scan that QR code in the top right corner. It'll take you to all of our social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, now this first award goes to the man that was the hottest thing in fantasy baseball. Had every fantasy manager putting in their waiver claims, even buying high in trades. And then one day, this man decided to say, "Fool you!" Yes, he did fool us because one day he just said, "Fooled you." The Fooled You Award, the nominees are. You want to go ahead and say the nominees?
Let's do it. So our nominees are David Fry, Jose Miranda, and Stephen Kwan. And I will say there's plenty of honorable mentions we could have thrown into this. Johnny DeLuca for a hot second. I'm just trying to think of a couple more offhand that we could throw out there, but there's plenty of guys that could have made this list, and here are our top 3. So you want to get us started with Mr. David Fry?
Yeah, so as of June 1st, David Fry was batting .352 with 8 home runs and 4 stolen bases. Amazing production. And then from June 1st on, Fry's batting average dropped from .352 down to .261. That's almost 100 points, man, with only 6 home runs in that time span. Now, I had David Fry on a couple of my teams, and he seemed like the ultimate, like, waiver wire catcher to grab, because that's one of the reasons why he was so valuable, because he had catcher, first base, and outfield eligibility. You know, that catcher outfield eligibility, when they play on an everyday basis and they're batting .352, that's awesome, man. You know, that's going to almost win your week for you on a weekly basis. So next we have Jose Miranda. Priest All-Star break, batted .325 with an 8 OPS, 9 home runs. And post All-Star break, he batted .230 with a 587 OPS and 0 home runs. Did you have any stock in Jose Miranda this year? What were your thoughts before going into 2024?
I liked Jose Miranda more as a I know we were talking about Jose Miranda previously a couple weeks ago as a replacement for an Ozzie Albies. I never really fell in love and bought true on the hype on Jose Miranda, and I think he's somewhere in between what he was pre-All-Star break and post-All-Star break. Post-All-Star break, that .230 batting average, I don't think he's that bad, and a 587 OPS with no homers, but I also don't think he's a .325 batting average with 9 homer guy before the All-Star break. So, you know, somewhere in between, maybe he's a, .275 hitter with, expect a, 10 homers on the season kind of guy. But yeah, I think the hype for Jose Miranda was real at first, but you got to be, this isn't, he was a top prospect, came out of the gate hitting 325 early, but, he never really hit his peak. And I think that was his peak the first half of the season.
Yeah, the trouble was the back spasms that he had kind of mid-season, and when he came back from IL, it kind of derailed his season. He was just never the same again.
And he could still be hurt too.
He could still be hurt. I mean, a lot of these guys, the MLB is starting to crack down on teams putting players on the IL for just like minor injuries. The IL is supposed to be for a legit injury, not just because they're hurt, because as an athlete, you're going to be hurt. You're going to be hurt basically all the time. Something's going to ail you, something's going to ache, something's going to hurt. But unless you're legit like injured, a lot of these teams are taking advantage of that 15-day IL a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And finally, we have Steven Kwan, pre-All-Star break, batting .352 with a .919 OPS, 9 home runs, and 5 stolen bases. Post-All-Star break, 201 batting average with a .589 OPS, 4 home runs, and 7 stolen bases. Now, let me see. You want to go ahead and give us the winner?
I'm going to go with Steven Kwan. So Steven Kwan's going to take the cake here, coming off of back-to-back seasons with a good counting stats, but very minimal home runs. We were all expecting, something similar to last season, hit 280, single-digit home runs, 15 to 20 stolen bases. But Steven Kwan did have other things in mind. So let's go back and talk about the pre-All-Star break Steven Kwan. That's the guy that I traded pretty high for, I will say. So real quick, I did have a trade where I obtained Shohei Ohtani, Steven Kwan, and Luis Rengifo for Yamamoto, Shoto Imanaga, etc. But regardless, Steven Kwan in the first half, I mean, it was undeniable what he was doing and really established himself as one of the best hitters in baseball, batting .352, a .919 OPS, which we haven't seen out of Kwan at any point in his career. At his peak, he had a .398 batting average with an OPS over 1,000. And then he just second half fell off a cliff on the All-Star break. So batting .201 since the All-Star break with a .581 OPS, that's going to get you on this list. You're going to win the award right there for the Fulgia Award. So the reason we're going with Steven Kwan here, and not that he didn't still have a very productive and good season overall, I think we're going to choose Steven Kwan here for the Fulgia Award. He's still a very good player, and last year he proved he was a good player. I think we thought he was an elite and one of the best hitters in baseball, and he's not there yet. And, I still think that this is a guy that's going to earn a reputation as one of the better hitters in baseball after what he showed us in the first half this year and what he can do. But you got to be consistent. You got to do it, over time. And he fooled us. He's not there yet. And we thought he was there.
Yeah, I think everyone did, at least in the first half of the season, and the final numbers across the board actually look really good for Steven Kwan. 291 batting average, a 783 OPS, 13 home runs, 12 stolen bases. But there was a pretty significant drop-off after mid-June, and this could be very misleading in next year's drafts. But now that we know this, John, let me ask you, what round do you think you're looking to draft Steven Kwan in 2025? This season's ADP for Kwan was 193 overall, so very late in the draft.
And I think that's tough. I know we're going to talk about this a lot during the off season and, maybe do a mock draft or two. So stay tuned for some future episodes here that will have some fun in the off season. But truthfully, I would bump him. I would take him ahead of guys like Kyle Schwarber, Brian Reynolds, Teoscar Hernandez, Brandon Nimmo, and Riley Green, to say just a few outfielders that are comparable that I would rather have Steven Kwan over. And Kyle Schwarber in my league went 50 last year. Brian Reynolds in the 6th round. So I think you might be looking at, Steven Kwan a little bit differently next year than you were this year. I know he had some kind of injury last year that plagued him a bit. So maybe there was some lingering concerns because, even saying that average draft position heading into this year, I thought it was better than that this year, but I think there was some false hope there that even last year thinking that he couldn't just keep it up. And he's a very good hitter. Is he elite yet? No, but he's a very good hitter. So I would say, realistically, maybe 6th, 7th round, potentially.
So Stephen Kwan, he barrels up the ball pretty significantly. You know, I'm most of the time he's making some solid contact, but exit velocities don't really look too great for Stephen Kwan. Let's see, he 86.2 miles an hour this past season, or this season that we're in now. Max was 105, and that's actually pretty consistent with his history. Also, it's basically exit velocities around 85, 86 miles an hour with a max of the hardest hit ball he's ever had was 107 miles an hour. And, you know, there's guys that are going in the first couple of rounds that are hitting 107 on average. No, not that high, but pretty close to it. You know, you got guys that are hitting like 93, 94 miles an hour on average, and their max exit velocities are like 118, 119. So if you're looking for home runs, Stephen Kwan is not the way to go. Last year, he did steal 21 stolen bases, you know, and this year he's only at 12. So I don't know. I don't know if it's like him actively just not trying to steal bases this season. But if you look at the sprint speed back in 2022, he was 80th percentile, ran 28.4 miles per hour. And then 2023, it dropped off a little bit from 28.4 down to 28.1. But then in 2024, we're down to 27.1 miles per hour. That's a full mile and a half an hour down for Stephen Kwan. So that would definitely explain the drop in stolen bases. But he is still a very high contact hitter, and he gets on base. You know,
in a good lineup.
In a really good lineup. You know, the Guardians are probably going to win the American League Central. I know the Royals are trying to, you know, beat that spot from them, but I feel like that little rivalry get these guys kind of like ahead and make them play like to their ceiling. You know, when there's a little bit of competition, when you have that fear of being pushed out of the playoffs, guys tend to start playing a little bit better, you know, and putting some more effort into it. So Stephen Kwan, you fooled us this year. Next year, I think I'm going to go into it expecting a little bit less than what I was about halfway through the season.
I think that's fair.
All right. So next we have, there was a lot of notes on Stephen Kwan that I did not go over, but I think we kind of covered a lot from Stephen Kwan.
We're Kwan out over here.
All right. Now this next award is for the man that had no business being on any fantasy rosters and became one of the top fantasy contributors of 2024, making us say,
I don't believe what I just saw.
All right. So the I don't believe what I just saw award. And go ahead and go with the nominees.
So our first nominee is going to be Seth Lugo, career low ERA as a starter this season with the Royals, a 3.05 ERA. Nobody saw that coming. I don't believe what I just saw. Career high in starts, 31, 16 wins, 173 strikeouts, and 197.2 innings pitched so far this year. Option number 2, behind door number 2. Can I interest you in Jurickson Profar? By far the best season of his career. I think Will and I have covered this a lot, and all season, I don't believe what I just saw out of Jurickson Profar. There's no way he can keep this up, and every week he just continues to prove us wrong. So let's say typically a Jurickson Profar season sounds like a 245 batting average, a 730 OPS, 10 homers, 5 to 10 stolen bases, pretty mediocre. 2024 Jurickson Profar is not mediocre. He's a different player with the Padres right now. 284 batting average on the season, 852 OPS, 23 homers, 9 stolen bases, and a career high 97 walks. And our third candidate is going to be Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran. So after playing 102 games in 2023, Jarren Duran finished with a 295 batting average, 828 OPS, 8 homers, and 24 stolen bases. Now, his first full season this season in the majors, Jarren Duran is looking like a superstar. And I don't believe what I just saw out of this season. So looking at the numbers, I mean, Jarren Duran has been super excited super fun to watch. He is now a centerpiece that the Red Sox can build around with a 285 batting average, 841 OPS, 21 homers, and 32 stolen bases. So our winner is going to be, would you like to announce it, Will?
Sure. Jarren Duran. And Jarren Duran, first full season in the majors, was super impressive. He was getting drafted 176th overall. Most people drafting this guy didn't really expect too much from him. You know, that's middle of the 14th round, and he was giving you first round production all year long. Everyone was expecting a big stolen base total from Jarren Duran. He is super fast, but I don't think anyone expected 20 plus home runs, exit velocities up a mile per hour in the last two seasons, expected batting average almost right in line with his actual batting average, probably because he hits so many line drives. He does hit the ball on the ground a lot, but with his speed, he beats out a lot of those throws across the infield. So, John, did you happen to see how old Jarren Duran is?
What's he, 26, 25?
27 years old. And from the beginning of this show, I've always been about 27 to about 32, 33 years old. That is the prime age. And he is in the beginning of that prime age in his man strength years. Of course, he was going to go off this year. It's the beginning of man strength. Gotta love these lefty bats, dude. His launch angle kind of sucks, but lefty bats in Boston don't need to hit the ball super high because of the 3 to 5 foot fence in right field. Jarren Duran is only going to get better going forward, and I'm expecting Jarren Duran to get drafted around like the round 2-3 turn, you know, and at that pick, 24th to 30th overall, that might even be somewhat of a discount considering he's currently ranked number 16 overall in Roto and 13 in points.
Yeah, I think Jarren Duran back-to-back seasons. I mean, we saw a good snippet of it last year, and heading into this year, I was a little bit weary. You know, can this guy keep it up? He's still young. The Red Sox lineup really isn't that flashy, but they've shown flashes this year of getting better. I think they're only going to get better in the offseason. And next year, you know, he's got 2 good seasons under his belt. He's fast. He's exciting. He makes great contact. So I'm a big believer in Jarren Duran, and I would love to have him on the team next year.
Yeah, for sure. I don't remember who has him in our keeper league, but I was actually thinking about trying to throw some trades out there and get him in return. And he might be a little bit more valuable in a categories league, you know, instead of a points league, but he still scored a lot of points, man. And I know Jurickson Profar should probably be, you know, if he's not the winner of this award, he's definitely a close second, you know, because no one expected this season from Jurickson Profar. Was a top prospect a long time ago. This dude's in his early 30s now. No one's really expecting a lot from him. He got DFA'd from Colorado, you know, and the Padres love the personality and the presence that he brings inside the clubhouse. And apparently that was enough to kind of light a fire under Jurickson Profar because he wasn't even in some MVP talks mid-season going through. I think we actually talked about that on one of the shows.
Yeah, and I did actually want to bring up a little, not a tangent, but I'm going to give you 3 names, and you tell me 1, 2, 3 how you would rank these. Who you would want as, you know, I'll go fantasy baseball purposes. So who are you drafting in order of these 3? I'll give you Corbin Carroll. I'll give you Brent Rooker. And I'll give you Jarren Duran.
Points or categories?
Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Points or categories?
Points.
You said Jarren Duran. What were the other 2?
Jarren Duran, Corbin Carroll, and Brent Rooker.
I think Brent Rooker is probably going to be 3rd on the list. And I think I like Jarren Duran a little bit more than I like Corbin Carroll, and it's not because of skills or production. I think it's more of Corbin Carroll's shoulder just scares the crap out of me, you know, and I think that at any time the Diamondbacks are just going to say like, well, it's time. He needs surgery. Kind of the same thing that happened with Fernando Tatis. You know, he had shoulder issues and he had to get off-season surgery. Ends up about to come back and gets busted for PEDs. So Tatis was out for another like 6 months after that, which actually might have helped Tatis a little bit to just have some time off and heal up and get his timing right and everything. But Corbin Carroll, man, you're drafting this guy in the first round. Probably not anymore because of the season that he just had. He's probably going to drop to the second round, which is still pretty early. But I don't really like guys that I really believe that is going to go on a long IL stint, you know, and I kind of group him with guys like Aaron Judge. Aaron Judge gives you first round production all the time when he's healthy, but he's only had 2 healthy seasons in his career. So guys like that, I don't really trust too much. That's why I'm going Jarren Duran, number 1 for me.
Yeah, I think these are 3 of the top guys in that tier 2, you know, the outside looking in. And I think of the 2, I think Jarren Duran and Corbin Carroll are closest to entering that tier 1. You know, I threw Brent Rooker in there just to kind of throw you off with the power, but I mean, Brent Rooker has been awesome too. And he could have made this, I don't believe what I just saw just for his second half production alone with Lawrence Butler, but damn, man. I mean, I think you can't go wrong with any of those 3. I was just curious how you would rank them, but I do think Corbin Carroll's back now, man. I think he's back. So I'm going to take Corbin out of those 3.
He did have 2 home runs the other day.
Outside of that, I'll probably go Jarren Duran, then Rooker. I just think Rooker, I like Rooker a lot more than I did entering the season, and everything he's shown me, he can do it. I think the other guys are just a little bit more balanced and can give you more all-around production versus just some average and some pop, but we'll see.
Imagine the value that Brent Rooker will have after the A's trade him, because he's probably going to get traded. You know, I don't think the A's would hold on to him knowing that they're moving to a different city. You know, they were even talking about possibly trading Mason Miller. So I really think it's time for a rebuild. They're going to need to make a big splash before they move to Las Vegas. And I don't think they have what it takes now, like especially the starting pitching, man. Their pitching is terrible. You know, Mason Miller seems to be like the biggest bright spot, but it's like they keep on getting these old veterans that are cheap, you know, just to fill in their rotation. But, you know, it's been a while since we've seen an A's pitcher, like a real ace for the A's.
I'll actually disagree with you that I don't think they're going to trade anybody. I think they would.
My bad.
I just think between Lawrence Butler, I mean Brent Rooker, obviously Mason Miller, I think they're not going to trade everybody. Maybe they trade one piece, and maybe Mason Miller would be the guy that they would trade. But they're going to need something going into Vegas. You don't just go in with a White Sox roster. I hate to say it, but you know, Johnny Wilson coming up, Lawrence Butler, Brent Rooker. I mean, they got some batters there. You're right though. They definitely need some arms. They're never going to spend money, but they're not bad at developing. So I wouldn't be shocked to see them turn Mason Miller into a couple arms. Maybe, I don't know, like a Mick Abel, and Phillies could use a closer. So we could talk some prospects later on, but that's a whole nother episode itself.
Yeah, seriously. There's definitely a trade episode coming soon.
Yeah, I would love
All right.
that.
Our next award goes to the young man who's been making the most out of his rookie season. And all right, this is
The future is now!
the Future is Now award. And why don't you go ahead and give us our nominees?
So this was the toughest category for me to pick one. So that's why I appreciate you taking the ultimate hammer on this one. But our first nominee is Mr. Jackson Merrill, San Diego Padres star at this point, I'll say. 147 games played this season. He's batting .288 with an .820 OPS, 24 home runs, and 16 stolen bases. So that is the definition of well-balanced all around, you know, those are borderline superstar numbers. And as a rookie, that is Jackson Merrill also, I believe, has more walk-offs than any rookie in history. So he's really having himself a season. Our second nominee is Jackson Chourio, outfielder for the Milwaukee Brewers. So in 137 games this season, he's batted .273, .800 OPS, 21 homers, 20 stolen bases. Also very balanced. Pretty rough, quiet start, but he's also really picked it up since the All-Star break, turned it on, and has been a huge piece for the Milwaukee Brewers. So, and our final candidate here is Paul Skeens. So Paul Skeens, all he's done since he's been called up in 21 starts, just a 10-3 record, a 2.07 ERA, which is disgusting. 158 strikeouts, 32 walks, and 126 innings pitched. So, Will, I'm thinking, and I'm going to ask for a drum roll before you announce it, but this award could go to anybody. But who are we going to pick here?
Well, the guy that I have winning this award is Mr. Paul Skeens. And dude, what a crazy ride it's been for Paul Skeens. This dude has accomplished so much in his young life. In 2022, while Paul Skeens was attending college at the United States Air Force Academy, he won the John Olerud Award, which is given annually to the best two-way player in college baseball. So he was a hitter also. Then Mr. Skeens transferred to LSU, where he would continue his dominance and won the National Pitcher of the Year award, as well as the Dick Howser Trophy, which is basically college's baseball version of MVP, and followed that up by winning the 2023 College World Series and being named the tournament's most outstanding player. While attending LSU, Paul Skeens entered the MLB draft and was selected number 1 overall by the Pittsburgh Pirates after being touted as the best pitching prospect since Steven Strasburg. And if you've been watching baseball in the past 10 years, you know who Steven Strasburg was. So much hype about him coming up. And the Pirates were basically like, why waste this talent in the minors, right? Because after just 12 starts in the minors, Paul Skeens made his MLB debut against the Chicago Cubs, and it did not really go as expected. It only went 4 innings, allowed 3 earned runs on 6 hits while walking 2 and striking out 7. This would be the worst start of his 2024 campaign. Of course, it was his opening start for the season, first MLB start ever. So he started out his MLB career with a 6.75 ERA after his first start. But you know what he did after that is nothing short of amazing. Goes out for his second start against the Cubs again, goes 6 innings, 0 hits, 0 earned runs, 1 walk, 11 Ks. This man is going to be breaking records, man. He is no doubt a top 5 pitcher, probably top 3, possibly even top 1. SP1, ahead of Garrett Cole, ahead of Spencer Strider. You know, maybe not in 2025 because no doubt he'll probably still be on an innings limit, but Paul Skeens is only 22 years old. I'm going to say by 25, he's going to be the best pitcher in baseball.
I'm actually going to argue. I'm going to tell you by age 22, he's going to be the best pitcher in baseball. He already is, man.
He already is.
There's nobody better. I mean, just watching his starts, he does not – it's not even that he pitches like a rookie. I mean, he's pitching like a vet, like he's been there, done that, and he's just attacking guys. And he's not cocky. He's confident. He is great with the kids. He's great with the fans. He's great with the media. He's dating Livy Dunn. This guy is not just the best pitcher in baseball. He is the face currently of baseball. And a 22-year-old that is making this kind of impact, the future is now. I mean, these numbers, if that doesn't prove it to you, everything he's doing off the field too, this guy's a superstar already, and he is the best pitcher in baseball. There's no other way to say it. I mean, I no doubt if I have a top 10 pick next year and I'm looking, I mean, I generally don't look for a pitcher in the first round, but he should be the first pitcher taken off that board next year, truthfully.
Yeah, with guys like Spencer Strider or Garrett Cole that might be ranked ahead of Spencer Strider or of Paul Skeens. Garrett Cole's production has gone like kind of like in the toilet. You know, he's not giving first round production anymore. And Spencer Strider is going to be coming off of Tommy John surgery. So how much stock can you really put into a guy like that coming off a major surgery like that? You know, I don't think that I'm going. Yeah, but
I feel more confident in Strider than most.
I feel more confident in Strider than I do in Cole. I feel like Cole's on the wrong side of 30 now, and he's just in that old man decline. Sometimes it happens a little sooner than others. You see Justin Verlander and you see Max Scherzer that were pitching at 38, 39 years old and were still considered elite. You saw Justin Verlander get the Cy Young a couple seasons ago, you know, in a very old age, older than what Gerrit Cole is now. But the signs that I see from Gerrit Cole, I don't really view him as a top 3 starting pitcher anymore. You know, I think that maybe he is number 3, you know, out of the 3. But Paul Skeens,
I'll give you 5. Yeah, he's a top 5. I think
top 5, definitely top 5.
Yeah, I think I'd take Tarik Skubal over Cole right now.
Yeah, exactly. I really like Tarik Skubal, man. I would definitely take Tarik Skubal ahead of guys like Kevin Gausman and Luis Castillo that were going before him in drafts this season. But no one really expected the type of season that we got from that. So, all right, real quick, if you're watching this video on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Please and thank you. And our next award goes to the man that that single-handedly might have derailed your whole season. And this is...
You're killing me, Smalls.
The You're Killing Me Smalls Award. And John, go ahead and give us our nominees.
Awesome. So candidate number 1, Corbin Carroll. There's no secret that Corbin Carroll's first half was just not embarrassing, but it was just an absolute disaster. So drafted number 5 overall after a crazy impressive rookie season in 2023. In 2024, 147 games, has batted .233, 746 OPS, 19 homers, and 29 stolen bases. Now, those numbers have gotten so much better. I mean, the homers have popped up in the past month. Stolen bases, I mean, he's just now turning it on. So I don't want to say it's still been a disappointing season for Corbin Carroll, but it hasn't been officially not a bad season, which is good. It's been a very disappointing season. So that's candidate number 1. Candidate number 2, Matt Olson. So Matt Olson drafted number 14 overall in 2024 after Olson led the league in RBIs last year. He only hit 54 home runs last year and batted .283 with a .993 OPS. This year, different story. This year, Olson's batting .239, 770 OPS, 26 homers, and 89 RBI. So, again, not a bad season, but not anything close to what you were hoping for when you're drafting Olson that high. And he definitely had a really abysmal first half, too. And finally is Julio Rodriguez, our third candidate. So Julio Rodriguez drafted number 2 overall in a lot of leagues this year. J-Rod has been playing way under expectations and projections. J-Rod was projected this season to hit .280 with an 818 OPS, 30 homers, 30 stolen bases. That's a number 2 pick. But unfortunately, Julio Rodriguez has not done that. So this year, he's hit .268, 715 OPS, 16 home runs, and 22 stolen bases. And finally, our last nominee is Luis Castillo. So he was the average 5th pitcher off the draft board, number 32 overall this season. And he's also been pretty mediocre this year, 11-12 in 30 starts. So not even a 500 record, a 3.64 ERA, which is not bad, but it's not good. It's pretty mid. 1.17 whip, 175 strikeouts to 47 walks, and that's in 175.1 innings pitched. So, Will, some really good candidates here. This could have gone either way. I think this is personal preference depending on if you drafted or traded for one of these guys. I ended up trading for Corbin Carroll pretty early. I bought low in our keeper league, so I'm happy to have him with all the production. I think if I'm putting that bias into it, I think he had probably one of the most disappointing seasons for coming off of being in the World Series last year. But as a show, let's talk about who our winner is.
So real quick on Corbin Carroll, the main reason why I don't think that he should win this award is because of that production that he's had after the All-Star break. So pre-All-Star break, he was batting 212 with 5 home runs. Post All-Star break, 274 with 16 home runs. And that also came with 11 stolen bases. So he definitely turned it on, man. And if he started turning it on when you got into your playoffs, and if you made the playoffs, he was definitely helping your team with some, maybe not first round caliber production. You hope for a little higher batting average than that. And the stolen bases kind of dropped off a little bit. He had 18 before the All-Star break and only 11 after so far. There's only 10 games left. So that's the reason why I didn't choose Corbin Carroll. But the winner of the You're Killing Me Smalls award is Julio Rodriguez. And the biggest reason why I have Julio Rodriguez winning this award is because he was drafted number 2 overall in fantasy drafts. He's literally one of the biggest busts of 2024. He's currently ranked 158th overall in points and 143rd in categories leagues. He's kind of turned it on as of late also, but this man was getting drafted ahead of guys like Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Bobby Witt, Aaron Judge. I mean, after all, he was projected to be a 30-30 guy with a 280 to 290 batting average and mid 800s OPS. I really like the upside of Julio Rodriguez, but there are definitely some signs of trouble. First is his plate discipline, 26% strikeout rate. Now, if you're giving me 40-plus home runs, I don't care if you have a 26% strikeout rate. You could have a 30% strikeout rate. I don't care, but that was not Julio Rodriguez this year. He's in the bottom 8% of the league in chase rate, the bottom 15% of the league in whiff rate. And if that wasn't enough, J-Rod's season-long average exit velocity is down almost 2 miles per hour from last season. His barrel rate is down 2%. Hard hit rate is down 6%. Now, this is J-Rod's 3rd MLB season, and it seems as though this year is the outlier. In 2022, he batted 284, 28 home runs, 25 stolen bases on 132 games. 2023, he batted 275, 32 home runs, 37 stolen bases, and 155 games. Now, I think that's going to be typical Julio Rodriguez production. And if that's not enough to convince you J-Rod is back to his normal self, in the last 30 days, he's batting 283 with 5 home runs and 4 stolen bases. So my thoughts on J-Rod, I think he will always be a very inconsistent hitter, but his season-long numbers will usually look the same. This year was very underwhelming for J-Rod's counting stats, but his expected stats still looked really good. A 277 expected batting average, 463 expected slug. Even though his exit velocity is down, it's still 91 miles per hour, which is 78th percentile. He's a good player with very cold streaks and very hot streaks. And J-Rod's best format is definitely Roto, where you only care about the final numbers on the season. And while points is his worst format, especially because he's not actively stealing as many bases as he has in the past, but he's still young. Definitely could bring up those numbers next season. His power numbers dropped pretty drastically as well. And I'll just add one more thing. The Mariners sucked really bad this year offensively. Now, they are number 2 in the division, but that's really just because their pitching has just been so good this season. And when you're on a isn't expected to do much offensively, you're probably not going to have much fun. And anyone that plays or has played baseball in the past knows you're usually on top of your game when your team is winning, when you're having fun playing the game. And the Mariners were not a winning team this year. They are barely above 500. And like I mentioned, they are second place in the division, but who cares? They're not getting a wild card spot. They're only in second because they're in the same division as the A's, the Angels, and the Rangers, all sub 500 teams. And last but not least, we have that's it. Yes, so that was J-Rod. That is the reason why I have J-Rod as
You're killing me, Smalls.
You're Killing Me Smalls award winner. Anything you want to add to that, John?
I guess I'll present you the same question I asked earlier. So give you 3 outfielders. How about Jarren Duran again, Corbin Carroll, and Julio Rodriguez now?
Ooh, that's tough. I think I'm still going with Julio Rodriguez ahead of both of those guys. And then I have Jaron Duran and then Corbin Carroll. But honestly, there's no way I'm drafting any one of those guys in the first 5 picks. I think it's probably going to be in the second half of the first round or beginning of the second round.
I think Julio's bumped himself to a tier 2 guy. I think entering this year, he was a tier 1 guy based on, some of what we've seen and flashes and everything else, but we've not really ever had the consistency. I think he probably has the highest ceiling that we'll talk about, but he's still really young. He does strike out too much, and I think I'd probably take him after Corbin Carroll right now, honestly. It'd be close.
Yeah, I think for Corbin Carroll, I'm still just going back with the injury concerns. It's just it's a little hard for me to back a guy when I really feel like he's just going to go on the IL at any moment and his season is just going to be done.
Sure. I guess it's going to depend on what the Mariners do with that lineup because you alluded to it earlier, but their offense, just saying it sucks is an understatement. They are so historically bad, and they have money to spend. They can spend money to improve that lineup, but will they? And who knows? And I think, there's really no true leader in that clubhouse this year. They're relying on Julio to be a leader. So I think he's got a lot of pressure on him and to perform, and it's just not happening. So I don't know. I don't trust Julio right now unless something big changes for them in the offseason.
I think they need to go out and get a veteran bat that speaks the same language as Julio Rodriguez, because they did go out and they got Justin Turner, a great mentor for a young player, but there is a language barrier, and there has to be some type of chemistry to be able to relate to someone that is giving you some solid advice. And Justin Turner, I think in the future, he's probably going to be a great manager. He's going to take over the reins on some team and run a team, and I could definitely see that from a guy like Justin Turner. He knows the game. He's been playing it for so long, played on so many different teams, been to the World Series a couple times, been in multiple playoff games his whole career. I believe he actually has the Dodgers record for RBIs in the postseason career-wise. Great player to have as a veteran in the clubhouse, but I still think that J-Rod just needs someone more that he can relate to. Like when Nelson Cruz was in the Mariners lineup, I feel like that would have been like a really solid bat to kind of guide Julio Rodriguez. But I think the Mariners front office really needs to consider adding some veteran bats, because the Mariners had the worst batting average in the whole league season wide, and when you have a couple stars coming out of the Mariners lineup like Julio Rodriguez, and no one else is producing, these guys get discouraged and they kind of like lose that spark that they once had. They get so excited when they get called up and they're on a major league roster and they want to perform. But then, a couple years goes by and they're a little bit more comfortable on the team, but the spark's just gone. And there's no one there to kind of like reignite that spark.
Yeah, know who I would really love to see? This would be fun. It'd be cool to see Juan Soto sign in Seattle.
Oh, man,
talking about someone who that would be a hell of a tandem, and they have the money. They need the bat. Watch over.
They desperately need the bat. Yeah, they desperately need that bat. But I don't know. Do you think the Mariners would really be willing to spend that much money? Because I think Juan Soto actually might get the second highest contract in baseball history, just behind Shohei Ohtani's.
They're really not paying anybody big money right now that I know of. Julio has his contract, but he's still young, so they're still saving a few bucks. They're not.
I think Castillo, maybe he might be like the one that's getting paid the most, and even him, he's not like up in the 30 millions or whatever.
If Juan Soto does not stay with the Yankees, he's going to Seattle. Heard it first.
Dang. Got to make sure we remember where this is at in the video. Actually, like comes to fruition. All right.
And-
And
I was gonna say dark horse, just cause.
all right.
You got one more category for us here, Will?
We got one more category. Last but not least, it's the player that carried your season, the reason you made it into the playoffs, and possibly the reason you won your fantasy league. And this is the Best Around Award. And go ahead and go with our first nominee.
All righty. So let's talk about the best player in baseball now, the best player in baseball history, and that's Shohei Ohtani. So Shohei Ohtani is already the first player to have a 45-45 season, and he's pretty damn close to 50-50 here any day now. So 48-48, I believe, at the moment, but currently batting 287, 978 OPS, and per our notes, he actually does have 49 stolen bases. Our second nominee is Aaron Judge. So Aaron Judge, 321 batting average on the season, 1144 OPS, which is just filthy. 53 homers, 9 stolen bases, and currently leading the American League in homers, RBI, and second in batting average. So half decent chance he gets a good look to win the Triple Crown, which is not getting talked about enough. And finally, our last candidate is the guy who Aaron Judge is trying to beat in batting average, and that's Bobby Witt Jr. So Aaron Judge has a 321 batting average. Bobby Witt Jr. has a 331 batting average with a 985 OPS, 32 homers, 30 stolen bases. Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be one of the best baseball players for a long time in this league. So all three of these guys easily could have won you your league, well, could have gotten you in the playoffs and helped you win your championship. They're all first round caliber. Honestly, could go 1, 2, 3 in this order. So with all of that said, you could pick any of these three. And I think if Shohei is pitching, this isn't even a conversation, but let's pick one. Will, you got a drum roll for me?
I do. Let's go. Aaron Judge. And with only 10 games left, Aaron Judge has that legit possibility to be the 17th player to win the Triple Crown in MLB history. Unfortunately for Judge, as John just mentioned, Bobby Witt Jr. is the man standing in his way and leads the league in batting average by 8 points. That could have fluctuated from last night. A sudden cold streak from Witt or a sudden hot streak from Aaron Judge could make history happen. The last Triple Crown winner was Miguel Cabrera in 2012. He won it with a 330 batting average, 44 home runs, and 139 RBI. I forget how good Miguel Cabrera was back in the day, man.
That was so fun to watch that season too. Holy shit, him and Trout.
Yeah, seriously. Aaron Judge is currently sitting at a 321 batting average, 53 home runs, 136 RBI. Judge is batting 300 in the last 2 weeks, while Witt is only batting 229 in that same time frame. So there's a definite possibility that Aaron Judge could take the Triple Crown this season, which universally would make him be known as the best around. Now, thoughts on Aaron Judge, man? But what do you think? Do you think this Triple Crown is actually attainable?
Sure. I mean, anything's obtainable. I think Aaron Judge he's been very consistent, but when he's hot, holy God, he gets hot. Bobby Witt, great player, great hitter. I still expect him to hold on to it, but it could absolutely happen and be really fun to watch.
Now, we talked a couple weeks ago about fantasy playoffs, how some leagues start a little bit later than others. And the reason why I don't like making our playoffs start late is because when a team clinches the playoffs, a real MLB team clinches the playoffs, they start to rest their starters. Now, with Aaron Judge on this pace and trying to play for the Triple Crown, the Yankees are in. They have the division locked. They just made that happen last night. So, question is, are they going to sit Aaron Judge, or are they going to have him just play every day and go ahead and try for that Triple Crown?
The Yankees are pretty good at this kind of stuff. I remember them toying around with Jeter when it came to this too. And, if he's got a chance, they're going to let him do it. And I think a couple years ago, the Mets did it with Francisco Lindor. Who was it? Reyes. It was a Yankees or New York shortstop, I should say, that did it. And once he got the average, they pulled him directly out of the game. So I think they'll let Aaron Judge get his, and if he gets too hot, they're going to pull him and say, all right, Bobby Witt, try and top that. So it depends. I think they'll finagle a little bit, but Aaron Judge is a competitor. Aaron Judge is going to want to have that Triple Crown and is going to do anything he can. So even if they say, you're going to DH instead of play center field to preserve him a little bit, I could see that happening, but they're not going to pull this bat out. Not now.
Do you think that maybe he is actively trying to raise his batting average and kind of like, settle down on the home runs and other counting stats, maybe just working on his contact line drives rather than just trying to hit it out of the park every time?
I don't know. I think you can't switch up your game and try to do that, especially now. I think he's just going out and doing what he does best, just hit the ball. And
honestly, I think that's what Aaron Judge does anyway. He doesn't necessarily try to hit home runs. He's 6'8", 320 pounds. So when he hits the ball extra freaking hard, and he does it so effortlessly. If you see his swing, all his home run swings, it's not like he's putting like extra emphasis in it. He's just making solid contact. The launch angle is perfect, and it's Yankee Stadium, man. With his bat, he could hit the ball, basically anywhere and hit it out of the park.
Now, I saw a stat, and I'm curious if this changes your opinion on anything that we just discussed too. But I saw a stat on the internet, so it must be true, that Bobby Witt would have 38 home runs in Yankee Stadium. And if Aaron Judge played in Kauffman this season, he would also have 38 home runs. I don't know.
Really?
It's basically trying to say Bobby Witt right now has 32 homers. Had he played his entire season, and he would be on the same exact playing field as Judge. I don't know. I think Bobby Witt's a slightly better contact and overall baseball player, but I think Aaron Judge with the power, consistency, he doesn't have the speed that Bobby Witt does, but it's an interesting stat.
Yeah. And Bobby Witt's a little bit younger than Aaron Judge, so he's going to be able to play this game a little bit longer than Aaron Judge will, God willing. But hey, at least we get to watch history in the making right now with a lot of different superstars. There are so many different exciting superstars that we kind of went down on our list with Paul Skeens, with Aaron Judge, Ohtani, and Bobby Witt, man, all really good players. And Aaron Judge is the only one that's on the other side of 30, but we get to watch these other guys grow into becoming not just top fantasy contributors, but possibly like the best hitter, the best pitcher in baseball. Bobby Witt has the potential to be the best hitter in baseball.
No doubt. He's already, who's going to argue that he's not there already? Shohei and Judge are Shohei and Judge, but Bobby Witt's numbers, man. So if we're talking about these three, we might as well throw in two more. You have a way too early top five that you would draft? If you want to?
I would have to look at that. And I will say this. If I have the number one pick overall next season, I think I'm going Mookie Betts next season. I think Mookie Betts had a legit chance to win the National League MVP over Shohei Ohtani this season, but he got hit by a pitch, out for 8 weeks, and that was huge. That completely, made his MVP nomination kind of like go out the window, but he could have been fighting for that spot, with the home runs, with the stolen bases that you see from Ohtani. Now, Mookie Betts isn't going to hit 50 home runs, but he has a higher batting average, and he probably could have scored more home runs than, more runs than Ohtani and better contact. I mean, you can't compare Ohtani to anyone else because of the type of things that he's doing right now. But I think Mookie Betts is going to be the more solid contributor next season. In every aspect of offensively. And Ohtani's going to be pitching next season also. So he's not going to be able to sit down in between innings and just kind of like just focus on hitting anymore. He's going to be doing both next season. That's what they're paying $70 million a year for, you know. So I really wouldn't expect the same type of production from Ohtani that we saw this season going into 2025.
Are you really going on record publicly that you're doubting Shohei Ohtani?
I'm doubting that he's going to have another 50-50 season, but I still think he could have 40-40. I think that is highly plausible. I don't know if Dave Roberts is even going to send Ohtani, you know, to steal a base as often as he does now, because he's also going to be pitching every week.
Shohei Ohtani's a freak, man. I hope he listens to this episode and shoves it right up your Dodger loving ass, because he can do anything he wants if he puts his mind to it. He might have a sub-3 ERA with 60-60 next year just because he can.
Jeez, 60-60.
I'm definitely not calling that, but that's sick.
Yeah, not 162 games, you know.
Nope.
All right. So if you enjoyed this episode and would like to watch more, click one of the video links below, our MLB news show and our new Real Talk football show just in time for football season. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for watching or listening, and we'll see you guys next week.